You're listening to a Time Machine podcast. Old Movie Time Machine. An adventure through time and or space. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Old Movie Time Machine. Jay-Z here with Shrishma Naik.
Hey.
Carolyn Naoroz.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the program. And we are super excited because ding dong, trick or treat. It's fucking Hitchcocktober, everybody. Whoop.
Boo.
Yeah, also.
Ghost boo, not like, yeah. I didn't mean like
scary boo.
I mean, a little bit of boo. I mean, you know,
Trishy boo.
Of course, this is the month that we. Oh yeah, right. This is the month where we celebrate the films of Hollywood's most talented, perverted sexual alter and voyeur, Alfred Hitchcock. Welcome back. So this is the final Hitchcock that we will be doing for Hitchcocktober, because next week will be our super special Halloween episode. As we do, I will reveal that film at the end of this episode. So stay tuned.
I'm
That's
so
a tease.
excited.
But this week, you guys, so excited because we are watching 1958's Vertigo. Now, Shrishma Naik, you just came at us with a hot confession, which is that you did not finish watching this movie.
I did not finish watching it. I may or may not have fell asleep.
Okay, right. And you never got to pick up okay.
Where I left off.
Do you have any idea where you fell asleep?
He was kissing her.
Kissing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
See, but let me get to my one.
Were they at a Spanish mission when said kissing was happening?
No, I bet. Were they in the hotel?
No, she had fallen off the belt. She had fallen off the tower. I think that she committed suicide. And then he went a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just remember like a bunch of kissing and like different lights, because like I was in my sleep.
Okay. So it's not. Yes.
Wow. So you missed Act 3. Okay. This is your mind's gonna be blown. I'm not going to reveal right now the incredible surprise twist finale to
Surprise. When did this movie come out?
1958. Wow. Okay. So you have no idea. This is a very confusing film unless you see like the last 20 minutes. Uh-oh. Who's in the house?
Is.
Katherine Sherlock, are you there? Hello?
Hello.
Greetings. Welcome to the program. We're just getting started. And,
sorry about that. I totally ran out of time. I didn't watch really the last half an hour of the film.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So this
is a series of disastrous events.
Okay.
I will say though, Justin, I have watched this film I don't know how many times, and somewhere in a box in my attic there is actually a strip of celluloid from the remastered version that I was given at one point because I love this film so much.
Okay. So, Katherine, just to get you caught up, you are joined in not having finished the film by Shrishma Naik, who also just nodded off while watching it last night. I totally understand. I too fell asleep last night watching Vertigo, but I did have the time to pick it back up again today. So this is kind of a huge responsibility then to let you guys know what happens at the end of Vertigo. Right? Yeah.
Oh,
now, Katherine,
I got
have you seen Vertigo? You seen this before? Katherine Sherlock?
Yes, I've probably seen it many times, not for a while though. Yeah. So I knew there was some kind of twist coming. It just seemed to be building and building and building, and it got to like an hour and a half, and I was like, what's happening here?
When is it happening, and how much longer do I need to stay?
And then I realized I had half an hour to go because I'm doing my homework on the bus and watching tonight. And yes, it was kind of a bus disaster and other disasters and an uninvited guest that prevented me from
life.
Oh no! Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's a shocking chain of events happened to derail your Vertigo experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to get everybody's one-line review for the part of Vertigo that they saw, at least, if you have it.
I do.
Shrishma, can you share yours for us, please?
I got vertigo trying to keep track of all these blonde ladies. That all looked the same.
Yeah, there's a surplus of them. That's true. There's at least one too many blonde ladies.
Even like the hotel receptionist was an older blonde lady.
Oh yeah, and all the decoy blondes that are coming in and out of it. I mean, we missed some of that, but okay. Great one-line review. Carolyn Naoroz, my sister and yours. Do you have a one-line review for Vertigo?
Yeah, this is an obsession gone very awry.
Yeah, I'd say
to
about
say the
as
least.
awry as you could go. Yes,
right.
Yep, well put. Katherine Sherlock, The Hammer. Do you have a one-line review for Vertigo?
Not really, seeing as I literally just jumped and then came straight on here.
So,
I think the other one I thought was, it's not really a review, is excellent opening to a sci-fi movie. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So before I get into the synopsis, I wanted to at least make some of you who might not be familiar with the film, like make you aware that many people from the film industry and critics and many people consider this to be not only his best movie, but the best movie like ever. So there's a very famous Shrishma is very skeptical of that. So there's a very famous poll called that's done by this a British magazine called Sight and Sound. It's a film criticism magazine, right? So exactly. Where's that Peyton Place farmer drop? You go up there about 5 miles.
You go up this road about 2 miles, you'll come right in center town.
Shrishma, get comfortable too.
No criticism.
Like, do you feel comfortable?
I am.
That was a skeptical I am. She was like, I am, but
okay, I got you.
There was a head shake with that where she was like, I am. No.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a magazine called Sight and Sound, and once every 10 years they poll industry insiders and experts and people knowledgeable on the art of cinema. And they ask them, what are your top favorite movies? And then they publish a list of the top films. So between the decades of the 60s to the 2000s, the number one film for 40 years voted by their illustrious international panel of experts. They have one too. It's been Citizen Kane for 40 years.
Okay.
Then in 2012, because it's always their magazine, they started the poll in 52. So it's, So 2012, Vertigo became number one.
From when they started to 2012? Or it was the like all movies, it's just like the feeling at the time when they're asked to, so people reevaluate these things, the public perception changes on films. And
so wait, did you say this is a filmmakers or just the general public?
No, this is like filmmakers, film professionals,
all right.
People in the industry and critics.
It's like the Academy Awards. Does it really count then? Because really, unless they're looking at box office.
Well, it's international. I mean, it is. They do try to keep it pretty wide as far like make it a global thing. So it's kind of amazing that there's any kind of like concurrence at all on the subject. But there was for Citizen Kane. And there was for Vertigo. Now, this most recent one in 2022, it might surprise you guys, but probably not, to learn that the Sight and Sound international panel of experts might not have been the most diverse collection of people you can imagine.
Sure it was not.
They finally bowed to public pressure to like, hey, can we like open this up to more like try to involve more people,
Let's diversify the panel.
Yes. And so now Vertigo is number 2. And number 1 is a French feminist film. It has a very long title and I don't remember what it is, but I understand it's number 1 right now. So but Vertigo is held in very high regard by the film community and has been since its release, basically.
Yeah.
Shrishma cannot fucking believe it.
To me,
yeah.
the part that I did, I guess maybe I missed the ending. So maybe I missed the magic of the movie.
I don't know if it's magic.
It's not that mind blowing.
Okay.
No,
it just seemed like an interesting way to, like, it was a very convoluted way to use the concept of fear of heights. Like, like.
Okay.
Like how can I how can I build a story about the fear of heights? Let's throw in 5 crazy blonde ladies and a crazy Jimmy Stewart.
I'm gonna blow your mind right now. Can I? What if I told you that Vertigo, the concept,
right,
the affliction, and the title of this movie are actually a MacGuffin?
Oh, of course.
It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with Vertigo. Like, it does marginally, but like, it's not about like, we really need to cure this guy's vertigo and like scientists like doing the thing with the pouring liquids from one tube into another. Like, it's not about that at all.
Right.
No.
This is a film about obsession.
It is.
It's about infatuation. It's about trauma. It's about PTSD. It's about all these things.
Mm-hmm.
You seem surprised. Let me start.
I get obsession for sure.
So
and paranoia.
Let me do my first.
I was going to say,
this
is like a great segue into the synopsis of it.
Yes.
Go for it, Jay-Z.
The time is 1958. The space is San Francisco. John Scotty Ferguson is a detective who is forced to retire after an unfortunate incident in which an officer falls to his death while trying to save him while he is dangling from a rooftop. Scotty now suffers from vertigo and a fear of heights, along with the guilt of his fallen comrade, which he discusses.
I look up, I look down. I look up, I look down.
Oh, Mr. Stewart, I didn't realize you were joining the panel today, but welcome, Mr. James Stewart. And he discusses, exactly, he discusses this with his old college friend and former fiance, Midge, crazy blonde lady number one, we'll say,
right.
He college friend Gavin Elster, a shipping magnate who has recently returned to the Bay Area and is concerned with the behavior of his wife, Madeline. According to him, she has recently taken to falling into trances and wandering to unusual locations in a loop, with no memory of them after the fact. Elster believes that she is being haunted by the ghost of Carlotta Valdez, a beautiful woman. Something else I can help with? No, thank you. A beautiful woman from the mid-19th century who went mad after her child and home were taken from her. Scotty is skeptical, but agrees to do some light tailing of her to see what the deal is. His investigation backs up everything Elster has told him, but is suddenly thrown into disarray when Madeline lets herself fall into the bay, forcing him to rescue her and take her home with him unconscious. Let's stop there and let's talk about the setup of this movie. So,
can we talk about Midge?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's talk Midge, the old college flame who is now a platonic flame. She's artsy. She has a great apartment. Let's get into it.
Well, I mean, I think first off, we should say that like the whole vibe of this film is real great. Like, I'm loving Midge's apartment. I'm loving Scotty's apartment. Like, it's San Francisco. Old San Francisco. We got a little bit of like San Francisco history in there with this film, the clothes, like all the things. Like, it's like
we have a nice combination of mid-century grandma meets a slight. We're almost to mid-century modern. Like, his place is as close as you could get to that, I would think, or Midge's, if you will.
Right.
We haven't quite entered the 60s yet, so we're not getting as groovy of furniture as you will find shortly, but.
Right. Yeah. Like there's a lot of great living room scenes in this film when we talk about our living rooms and some furniture. I dig that there are like working fireplaces, like actual wood burning fireplaces in these apartments, which is fantastic. Yeah. The other thing is that this is San Francisco can be very overcast. But I appreciate that the film itself, like they caught it on like when they're driving around down the hills and like that is what it is like to drive in San Francisco. It's some seriously hilly shit.
Well, let's talk about the fact that after watching Dial M for Murder and Rear Window back to back,
which are very enclosed,
they're set in one location. what a breath of fresh air it is to have like on location shooting from the Bay Area for this movie. We're outside. We're with the redwoods. We're on actual San Franciscan streets. Like we're in multiple apartment locations, all kinds of different rooms, like sumptuous, luxurious rooms, wood paneled rooms. Like
I think this film does a very good job as like someone that lived in California for a long time. Like it gives you that California glamour. Gives you a little bit of the Spanish Mission, gives you a little bit of like, the interesting thing about San Francisco is that it almost feels like if you've been to an East Coast city like Boston, it kind of feels like Boston on the West Coast. Like it's completely different than Boston, but the buildings are lower. It's not like Manhattan. Like there's still some real like old world charm there.
Which definitely.
I think this movie did a really good job of capturing. And that's one of the reasons why I personally like it so much is it's like, I mean, even the bar that Scotty talks about, like, well, I can't go to the top of the mark and enjoy a drink anymore. Like that bar still exists and you can go there. I've had drinks at that bar. We can.
Why would we not do that?
Wow.
I've never been to the Bay Area, so
I've been once.
Okay. Catherine, you ever been up in that neck of the woods?
No, but I'd quite like to.
Yeah, it seems great. And a lot of good music came out of there too.
Yeah.
It should go there. I want to go.
Isn't that also like the K capital? Like
yes.
I guess, yeah, it was, I mean, it was certainly back in the day. I mean,
it still is. It's got a huge,
was very much like a vanguard, like Harvey Milk and all that, right?
I mean, Haight-Ashbury, like there's like it's the whole counterculture.
Yeah.
It's all about counterculture, right? For sure.
Right.
It's also now Silicon Valley.
Yes.
Stupid money, and their homeless folks have some fairly decent services like Wi-Fi. It's just available.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yes, I understand it's very expensive to live there, but I'm all about, I want to check, I like bridges. I'll look at the bridge. I want to go to Alcatraz because I saw David Copperfield escape from there on a television special. I want to go to the Redwoods. I like shit like that. So I want to go see that.
I think I've been to the Redwoods.
Really? Oh, cool.
Sausalito's beautiful. You want to see San Francisco from the opposite side of the bay.
Okay.
No, just saying.
I love the biscuits, Sausalito cookies. They're delicious.
Right.
Pepperidge Farm.
Not to get us off track on Northern California, because we could talk about that for several shows.
Yes,
Midge.
Yes,
how do
Midge.
we
Tell us about
feel?
Midge.
How do we feel about Midge? Who I don't know how old these people are supposed to be, but if Scotty can retire from the San Francisco Police Department with his pension, he's got to have been there at least 25 years. So, like, these are not young people.
Yeah,
and they were engaged in college, so that makes me think, Midge, are you really in your 40s waiting around on, fucking Jimmy Stewart?
Well, so we learned last episode with Rear Window that he was 46, so he would be 50 years old when film comes out.
Right.
So she would, have to be late 40s at best.
She didn't look like
not at all.
She looks great. She's gorgeous. So I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these two? And Midge, why are you waiting around? No.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you could ask the same question or similar questions of Jimmy Stewart, or I'm sorry, Scotty, we'll call him. Just like, what happened to you? Like, what happened to you? So, like, you just fell really into your work. Like,
he's a cop. That's what happened to him. Don't worry about him. He's a cop. That happens all the time. Those guys, no, they're not getting serious until they're about to be like, I guess, well, there's something outside of law enforcement.
Now, I will say, just right up front, we make fun of Jimmy Stewart because we
love Jimmy Stewart.
He talks like that, I talk like this.
What was Alfred Hitchcock's obsession with Jimmy Stewart? Like, why?
He was just
why Jimmy Stewart?
His blue eyes.
Oh, his eyes in this film. Yes, good point, Catherine.
Yeah, they're pretty magical.
Yeah,
so blue.
Good use.
Yeah, you could get lost in those eyes. They twinkle. They have a twinkle in them.
But then he would open his mouth.
And then, all right.
But no, listen, but I feel like he's like the everyman to a certain extent. Like, you can kind of, like, he's not, oh my God, like Cary Grant. And you're like, okay, well, we all understand Cary Grant, George Clooney, these like, and or like a Brad Pitt, but like, right, Jimmy Stewart's a little bit more of an everyman.
Yes. And so while we'll tease Jimmy Stewart forever, because he sounds like that. He opens his, as you say. I will say, like, I think he's amazing in this movie. Like, I think he is so damaged in this movie, and it's awesome. I mean, like,
and it's believable.
My hat's off to him. Yeah, like he really does it. And we've seen a lot of these movies from this era, and I've seen a lot of movies with him, and I haven't watched this one in probably 2 years, I would say. So seeing it again, having through our recent adventures through time and or space, I was just kind of blown away, like surprised I haven't seen him like this. But I do also recall saying the same thing about him in Rope last year too. Like I thought he was really good in that. So
he was good in Rope.
Maybe we need to put a little more shine on him.
Maybe just his voice.
The voice is tough,
and that's what.
It's that old world like vanished accent that just doesn't exist anymore. So okay, so we're in Midge's place. I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts on that, Carolyn or Catherine, about their dynamic and what role she plays? Because she pops in here and there. She's there for him. She's his friend. She's there through his time of crisis. She's there to offend him with poorly timed visual gags. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think about her? What purpose does she serve in the greater context of this film from what parts you've seen?
That's what I wasn't sure if she came, like, if her role was made more obvious at the end of the movie. But from what I saw, it was just kind of like a side character to, to portray more about Scotty himself. Like, it gave us an opportunity to see him interact with other people.
Right.
And just
another woman who was, in fact, attractive, but they were,
I think
platonic,
right? It sort of made
a depth to his character
that much more intriguing, because why wouldn't he just like Midge, who's also a beautiful blonde,
right, and
has a personality, whereas the Madeline/Judy character, in contrast to Midge, has a lack of personality because she's acting apart, versus Midge, who's just a real person and charming and attractive, and sassy. Yep, absolutely. But also, I think that they're like Kim Novak, who plays Madeline/Judy, just isn't quite as enchanting as a Grace Kelly.
What do you guys think the statement is regarding the fact that Midge is independent, has a skill, has a craft that she plies for her as her way of life, like makes a living doing art. She has her own vision. She is kind of like a modern, independent woman.
Right, that's true.
Versus
the interesting character,
like the Madeline character, who is a kept woman, comes from money, and is like of a different era almost. Like there is. But
even she, as this independent woman, I think she's obsessed with Stewart. In a way.
It's an amazing bit of like you get that from just the briefest glance that she gives when he mentions the engagement, and her eyes flick for like 1 second, and you're like, oh yeah, she's still like there. She's still got some hand on
residual,
whatever they had. Yes, exactly. But I thought that was a great like performance, and also like filmmaking choice to like show that just slight twitch.
Yeah.
That just says so much without saying anything. It's really cool. So through that conversation, we learn this. The movie technically opens with him. Technically opens with an incredible Saul Bass opening credit sequence with a bunch of like spirally designs and things like that. 1958. This is a pretty psychedelic movie for its time, I would say. We'll psychedelic freak out later. This would be the colorful part that you were falling asleep to last night, but it is, it's eerie. It's off-putting. It's weird. Like they do through the score, this very mysterious Bernard Herrmann score, and through the Saul Bass credit sequence of the figure of the man falling through all of these spirograph drawings coming at you. Like it's a very disorienting and intriguing way to set things up. And then of course we see him dangling from the roof, and his colleague dying trying to save him, and so. But we also get the backstory of like his acrophobia, his fear of heights, and the vertigo that ensues, and the fact that he wants to, because of these things, he had to retire from the force, and he wants to solve it. Like he he doesn't want to live like this anymore. Right. So he knows this. I guess Midge being an old college mate also is a bit of a shortcut to him talking about getting a call from their other college friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, oh, isn't that great? I wonder what happened to him. Like, I haven't. And so we get the backstory. I'm like, they haven't been in touch recently. So it's kind of it's again, mysterious. It's a very mysterious film. This is not it's not that there aren't murders, but like, it's not a violent film except for a few brief moments. It's more of like, it's a puzzle box. Like, what is this? What's happening? So let's go to Gavin's office then, which is an incredible space. As I already mentioned, like wood paneling, 2 different huge meeting rooms, frame shit on the walls of boats and old maps and things like that.
Very nautical.
Right. This is how I've been living
not Skid Row then.
No, yeah, exactly. Which they thought. I love they got really good at the rear projection apparently, because whereas we saw in Rope, like they would build that set of the outside, the cityscape, and now they can just composite actual footage of like shipping, the docks or whatever, the cranes moving all the shit in the background, and it just looks fantastic. And this is where we learn about Gavin Elster's wife, Madeline, and her weirdness. So what did you guys make of her weird behavior? Like for those of you who had not seen it recently or not as familiar or don't know the end anyway, like what are you thinking about it as you're hearing about maybe she's possessed by a ghost?
Yeah, I just found it all kind of like an interesting plot line. Okay, so she's possessed by a ghost, and I think it was her relative from the past or something like that.
I don't know if they were related, but it was certainly somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were related in theory.
Oh, were they? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Their great-grandmother or something. But yeah, I mean, I just assumed mental illness, not possession.
Okay. Interesting take.
Or depression of some kind.
Okay. I'm not yet going to reveal what's going on.
I don't know what's happened. Like, it just felt weird that there was this chick who was... and so I didn't know where the story was going. Like maybe she was possessed, but it's a Alfred Hitchcock, so maybe that's the path he wants to go down. Sure, why not?
So when you start, we start following her. He does agree to take this on. He doesn't want to. Remember, Shrishma, we were talking yesterday about Call to Adventure, right? Yeah. Okay. This is him being like, I can't do it. I'm retired. I don't want to do this anymore. All right. I guess I'll do it. Fine.
But then you get to look at her, and then it's like, oh well, okay.
Yeah, right. Like, oh yeah, I'll just follow you around forever. This is my new job.
Wandering.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Oh, just wandering.
Well, we could wander together if you wanted to. Well, then we would actually be doing something. It's a totally different thing.
2 are traveling, only 1 is wandering, or whatever bullshit she said.
Yes. So. But as we wander, we follow her to the art museum. We follow her to a flower stall where she gets a very particular bouquet of flowers, and she takes those to an art museum and sits in front of a portrait of Carlotta Valdez holding the same flowers. And
she goes to the cemetery.
Yes, she goes to the cemetery to visit the grave. She goes to the old house that she used to live in, which is now the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all just super mysterious. Like she vanishes from that house. He is very intrigued by this. Scotty is, because he's not a believer in the paranormal. He's a facts first type of guy. So he's very skeptical about this like haunting thing that Gavin is very big on. But he cannot figure out why she's behaving this way, nor why she doesn't remember doing these things, like the trance aspect and everything. So, yeah, I don't know. We're just fraught with mystery.
Yeah, the thing I couldn't figure out was why she couldn't figure out she was being tailed. Because that was not subtle.
Catherine, I'm right there with you. Like, especially on some of those winding mountain roads or whatever, when he's like,
it's the same car lengths behind me.
Yeah, right.
But clearly, once you watch the whole movie, you're like, oh, she knew she was being tailed.
Yeah.
Should we just reveal the exciting conclusion?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Exciting conclusion.
So here's the deal, guys. This was all a setup.
Okay.
So you saw her fall from the mission, the bell tower.
Yeah.
you didn't see her fall from the bell tower. You saw the actual Mrs. Elstree be thrown off the bell tower by Gavin Elstree. Kim Novak was hired. Well, not hired, was actually fucking Gavin, but also was hired into this scheme for him to get rid of his wife. So his wife lives out in the country. Okay. She's not in town a whole lot. So he has her pretend to be his wife. And then
this is his friend.
Gavin, yes. The shipping guy. Because his wife has all the money.
Okay. Yeah, basically it's a shitty husband story.
Exactly. A classic shitty husband story. Kim Novak is aware
Who's Kim Novak in all of this?
Oh, Madeline slash
Judy.
The real wife.
No, the one that you think is the wife. The one that we see. We only see the real wife when she's falling off the bell tower.
When she's already dead.
The chick we see other times is
his
somebody
side piece,
else.
pretending to be his wife. So what happens is Gavin hears about Scotty's story through the newspaper of what happened with like his friend dying and the fact that he has vertigo, he had to retire. So he knows that this guy is retired, he's got free time, and he also has this affliction that he can't deal with. So this is all
damaged
part of his scheme.
Investigative goods.
Right, but he's a connection. They have a personal connection from back in the day, but this is a great way for him to set up his wife's murder so he can inherit the money and then run off with his hottie side piece, Kim Novak. So all of this is BS. It's just her pretending to go through these motions of being in a trance and being obsessed with Carlotta Valdez. And then what happens is she plunges into the bay, right? And he saves her. And so they start building a relationship. It's all like a long con, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So they eventually get mission. She's just like, I feel compelled. I had a dream about this and that, like all bullshit. Right. It's all set up.
The wife had happened to be there as well at the same time.
Gavin's already in the bell tower when they arrive with the wife holding her. We see a clip of this later, and
she's already dead.
I thought she was struggling. It doesn't matter. Anyway, she dies in that moment. Anyway,
right. In
that scene. Yeah. So, and they know that Jimmy Stewart Scotty will have an issue climbing the stairs because of his vertigo. So she races on ahead. He just sees the body fall out the window, doesn't realize that it's somebody else, just same outfit, same haircut, everything. And he thinks that the woman he's been hanging out with is dead.
Right.
So that's the twist. He doesn't find out until later when he sees Judy, a woman who looks very like the woman Madeline he was stalking and then dating. And he starts to like recreate the original Madeline using this woman. So that's the third act that you probably missed most of.
But like the Judy is still Kim Novak.
Yes.
So why does she make herself? How does he see her?
So the way that we get to this point is the body flies off of the bell tower. There's an inquisition of some kind, a bizarre panel at this mission with a jury of peers, I'm assuming. I don't know. It's all very loosey-goosey legal things, but they say like, okay, it's not his fault. It was a suicide. And so you're free and clear. You can go. But he's further damaged goods. So he has to go to a hospital for like inpatient treatment because he has PTSD from the whole thing. Like he's not talking. They're doing like music therapy, very brief. But we see him like, and Midge is there to like take care of him and like, you're going to get better and you'll get out of this.
Right.
Time passes through an edit and it's probably, I don't know, who knows, 6 months, 9 months, a year later. And he's out of the hospital and he starts like retracing his steps of like following her. So, and he starts seeing her everywhere. Like, in the way that you do of like, somebody who looks remotely like somebody I know, like, is that them? Oh, no, it's not. Until one day he sees Kim Novak with a different hairstyle, darker hair, longer, walking down the street with her girlfriends. And he's like, God, she looks just like her. Right. And he starts talking to her. And she's sort of like, whereas Madeline was a very sophisticated, that traditional Kim Novak sort of breathiness. This is Judy, like Judy's from
Kansas.
She fell off the turnip truck and she's been living here for 3 years, mister. What do you want from me? And he's just like, well, I just want to hang out with you, spend time. You look like somebody I know. And she's like, yes, I've heard that one before, sir. I got it. And he's like, oh, no, it's not anything pervy. It's just demented. It's just damaged goods over here. I don't want to go to your hotel with you.
I just want to spend as much time with you as possible.
Yeah. Which
okay, creeper.
Word for word. Yes. He ends up following her back to the hotel that she lives at. And he just like shows up at her room and she's like, what do you want?
That's kind of creepy. That's creepy.
This movie is just his obsession, his fixation. Like this is the scary part, really. Like this is the true horror of Vertigo.
It really kind of turns though. I mean, it's like
oh yeah.
He didn't start out this way.
Right. This is the progress of his character is that he's a fairly well-balanced individual who has this problem, who then has this further experience that really fucks him up, and it changes his entire persona, like his the way he is and the way he thinks. Right. And so he basically is just like, look, you look a lot like somebody I lost, somebody I used to be with, and she's living a very like a poorer life. Like she works for a living, she lives in a hotel room. It's and she's very Kansas, living in the big city, like trying to make it.
Can I just enter in here? Like, I think before we go back to the hotel and Kansas Judy, the actual scene of the court.
Yes.
If we just quick rewind to that, because that scene is ridiculous in so many ways. Like a judge would never it wouldn't be held at that mission. Two, the judge going on and on and on about what a fuck up Scotty is.
Yes, the opining. Excuse me, sir. Did not need it. No. This is not how the law works. And
but that so imagine then for the character, that's going to break him down even more. And the fact that he was a police officer and they basically shat all over him. And then the jury doesn't even leave the room to deliberate. It's just they turn around in the huddle and they're all white and they're all men and they're like, yeah, okay, here you go. Here's the verdict.
Well, I just took that as a testament to the obviousness that he's not responsible for this. We don't even need to leave the room. We're just this, but the fact that
the whole speech that the judge makes just completely tears him down. I mean, I'd have a mental breakdown if someone was saying that kind of shit about me.
But we are not here to pass judgment on Mr. Ferguson's lack of initiative. He did nothing, and the law has little to say on the subject of things left undone.
Yes. Now, did you see this part?
No.
Okay. So basically, this judge, again, it's a really weird scene because it's not so weird. It's just they're at the mission that they finally gather these people to talk about what just happened. But this judge is well, it's a shame that this man here, pointing to Scotty, couldn't do anything to save her, knowing that she was suicidal, knowing that she was damaged, that
so
he let her go up. Yes, inadvertently blames him. Well, I mean, inadvertently, but
it's just quite blatantly, actually.
It's shade thrown, but he wraps it up by being but he did, he did nothing. Which means he did nothing wrong. He literally did nothing, and the law doesn't judge people who don't act. Right. And it's just him just twisting the knife into this guy, and then, again, Jim,
who's already suffering. It's
he did nothing.
It's a weird scene, but it's really critical, I think, for this in the character.
Yes, Carolyn, agreed. It plays into his later psychology of the further what this does to him and his psyche and how he's dealing with it, dealing with the trauma of losing and somebody he cares about, and then being blamed by the legal system. I'm assuming that guy was a judge. I don't know if there's anything legal at all about this inquest. It's so bizarre, but
he did nothing.
We'll take it as this is how things were done back then, but it is unfortunate that
it's not how things were done. Let's shoot this scene while we're at the mission. Get some people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I guess
in the room.
It probably makes some kind of technical sense that because this is the crime happened here and it's in this remote location, we have to do the hearing here, whatever. It happens and it's pretty fucked up.
He did nothing.
It's a really fucked up scene, and it's really unfair to that character. So
okay, now we can go back to the hotel. I just didn't want to leave that.
Well, okay. So the thing that I wanted talk about the hotel, what is it, the Empire Hotel or whatever?
Yes.
We get a very brief glimpse. This has nothing to do with story. This is all ephemera right now. This is, ashtray counting 101. But like, there's a brief glimpse of a slice of aesthetic from this era that it's rare that you see it, but to see it, I just love it every time. So we've talked about this in the past, like different phases, like genres of these larger genres of design. So like Art Deco had like art Egyptian deco, like where ancient Egyptian design things molded in an Art Deco style. Same thing with like Native American art as well. There's mid-century modern, mid-century grandma. That's our own genre. That's patent pending on that. But there's also a small slice that I like to call, I think it's technically called mid-century medieval.
Okay.
But it's like suits of armor is like part of like a mid-century design
decor.
Aesthetic. Yeah, exactly. Carolyn, I don't know if you would remember this. We used to go up north to this like sort of touristy area, and there was a restaurant that was sort of medieval themed that had like suits of armor outside of it. We never went there, but we would drive past it going up to this lake house that we would go to. So like, I think it's from that era. And there are certain like Looney Tunes that tap into this as well, but it's just a very specific slice, very rare. But there is a restaurant, it looks like, next to the hotel that's called the Knights Arms or something like that. And it has like old English neon signage and things
I don't
like that.
know what year Camelot actually came out, but I feel like that would have had an influence.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, okay, great.
But like Camelot the musical on Broadway, and then Camelot the film would have been,
It's a style. It's just a
bizarre,
bizarre aesthetic from the times that some people were apparently into. Again, we haven't seen very much of it, but I did see that.
Come on, you'd have a suit of armor.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously I'm attracted to it, but for the rest of the world,
I think we can pass.
Yeah. So
but I did see my first real life armor this year.
Oh, really? Where?
Vienna, in one of the castles.
Okay. You'd never seen you've never been to a castle before?
No.
Wow. Okay. What did you think?
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay. Now, did you go to... Do you remember the castles you went to?
No.
Okay. Neuschwanstein?
It was somewhere in Salzburg.
Oh, okay.
No. Okay.
Okay. And suit of armor, you're like thumbs up. You're like,
that's pro. I was like,
looks
actually,
cool.
when I first saw it, I was like, oh, a suit of armor. Like,
okay.
But then it didn't last as long as.
Gotcha. Hey, Katherine Sherlock.
Yeah.
You ever see a suit of armor?
Many.
I'm kidding, of course.
I have a suit of armor. No, I'm only.
That's your bread and butter, your family suit of armor, right?
All English people have a suit of armor in there.
Yeah, that's what I assume. I mean, like when you go to the office, you're at least wearing the trousers, the armored trousers, right?
I mean, at the very least, the vest,
Yeah, why not? A little bit of chainmail. Yeah, sure. Just for the special meetings. Let me go back to the synopsis real quick. We're kind of all over. Like we just explained Vertigo, but Scotty and Madeline become close after the rescue, and he joins her on her wanderings, probing the dream she has had about Carlotta, to whom she feels spiritually connected. They fall in love, and he vows to help her solve the vibe mystery and protect her. This promise leads them to a preserved Spanish mission she has dreamt about. She scales the bell tower, leaving him in the dust to deal with his vertigo, and dies in a fall from the belfry. Okay, what do you got?
So that whole Carlotta story was just some bullshit.
Just some bullshit to trick him. Just gaslighting. Gaslighting 101. It's so fucked up, right?
Yeah, and it was basically all to target him.
Yes, to prey on this man's known weaknesses. It's awful.
That's awful. Just so that the other guy could get his wife killed, so they could live their little fantasy love life together.
Yes, which apparently
they had a plausible witness, I guess.
But the fatal flaw here is that Judy / Madeline, who was with Elster, falls in love with Scotty instead.
Yes, and is it explained what happens between her and Elster? Because she's not living like a kept woman.
Yes.
What's that? Okay, what do they say?
When they're like climbing the stairs again, and like Jimmy Stewart's like forcing her up the stairs,
Yes.
Judy. Yeah. He's like ranting and raving at that point. And he does like bring up the fact he's like, and did he just like, he promised you these things so that you do it. And then, like, yes, he gave me money at the end, but it wasn't very much. And blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And like, so she obviously got to keep the clothes from being.
So she got used too in a way.
Yes,
she got used.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he just fucks off.
And were
He's
there
out of
any
town.
consequences for this man?
No.
Alistair?
Nope.
No. Okay.
No. That is a very, we'll talk about it in a minute, but that is an intense scene. A lot of information on that final stairs. Jesus.
Which I can, that's why, like, if you're not listening really closely to the dialogue, like,
yeah,
you would be like, wait, was that explained? Oh, I don't know. He was just shoving her up the stairs by the neck. It's cool.
Yes. It's an intense, again, an intense performance, shade of performance from James Stewart, like of his rage point, like about like being fucked over this way. It's like, and you as the audience member, well aware of everything happening, you're like, yeah, I get it. I'm with you.
I think that's the amazing thing about this movie is Jimmy Stewart's performance, because it is so subtle, but he fucking loses his mind in so many ways. Like even when he's like catatonic, listening to Mozart, I'm like, this is a good job, Jimmy. Okay.
Yes, and it's at that point when this must be right before he goes to the Mozart hospital. Like he has his psychedelic freak out. It's a very famous segment or montage in the history of film. The Vertigo nightmare dream sequence, where again we go back to spirals and we go to like James Stewart's floating head, looking horrified. We get to see the real life woman who is painted as Carlotta wearing the same necklace that Madeline / Judy were wearing. I mean, it's plus like the lighting as well, like the fact that it's flashing like just different red, vibrant blue, green lights. It's an intense sequence. I think it really holds up still, even though it's pretty lo-fi compared to today's. I mean, it's not Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness by any means, but that was the level back then. Like people hadn't seen that sort of thing before. I don't think anyway. Catherine, have you ever seen anything comparable to that from that era? Because it reminds me a lot of the space-time travel sequence in 2001.
Yeah.
That's 10 years later, of course. But
much more sophisticated.
Like in the 50s, I can't think of anything.
I think, in this era, I think this must have been a first. Like, I mean, they cut in animation as well with the bouquet coming apart. And then there was just like weird colors and lighting effects. I mean, when like the color was changing on his face between like the lilac and like normal, it somehow does something weird to your eyes. It made, my vision at least, and it made his blue eyes look unbelievably blue somehow. It really did something very strange.
Let me read the finale of the synopsis. We've already talked about most of it, but then, we can get our remaining thoughts. Scotty is found not guilty by a bizarre inquest panel and is sent for inpatient treatment at a clinic for his PTSD. Time passes and he is released to wander the San Francisco streets. He sees Madeline everywhere, mistaking other women for her, so on and so forth. Damaged and obsessed, he invites himself into her life and establishes a sugar daddy relationship with her. She eventually agrees to spend time with him because it turns out that she was in on the scheme the whole time. Bum, bum, bum. We learn that she was only pretending to be Madeline so Elster would have a great excuse for the death of his real wife, whom he throws off the bell tower. Despite this inherent flaw in this relationship, Judy allows Scotty to reconstruct her steely Madeline look, further amplifying the infatuation. Only her wearing of Madeline and Carlotta's necklace alerts him to the reality of things, and he drives her back to the mission to retrace their steps at the scene of her faked death. Scotty makes it up the bell tower without panicking, but Judy is surprised by a lurking nun and plummets to her death, just like the real Madeline. That's what you missed.
I didn't realize that. So they didn't live happily ever after?
They do not. Nope.
Wow.
And that's like...
What, does the friend come back into the picture?
Not
ever.
really,
It just ends.
Yeah, she only comes back into the picture when he goes to the hospital. And she's there to
see him.
We don't see her again. And in traditional classic movie style, as we should bring back, when things happening in the movie end, the movie is over. There's no wrap up. It's just like the end.
Yes.
So what do we think about? I mean, you had no idea. Like, how are you feeling now about the story?
I feel like I will go watch the end.
That's exciting for me to hear. Like, I think you should.
I think you'll like that whole mad stare scene.
Yeah, like the twist. Not so. I mean, I knew something was going to happen because it's a Hitchcock movie, so something had to give somewhere. But I'm curious to see now. But what was all the lighty kissy scenes, the bright flashing lights and?
So that's his breakdown, basically.
Oh, okay.
As far as like the stuff that we were just talking about a couple minutes ago, like the psychedelic aspects, like that's his mind unraveling, basically. Okay. Which and as we're saying, like that was a novel way to express that in film. I hadn't seen anything close to that yet at that level. But yeah, I think for a Hitchcock movie, this is a rather it's like the most mysterious, like it's subtle and it does keep you wondering, like even like I've seen this movie like probably a dozen times now, if not more. Certainly now I know how it plays out. The first few times watching it, I definitely felt the confusion of the viewer. You're not privy to the information necessarily that there's a con on until a certain point. And that is revealed earlier than I actually remembered. When he leaves the hotel after following her there, she flashes back. We see what actually happened. We see her run up to the bell tower, Gavin and the wife being there, him throwing the body off. So the audience knows it, but he doesn't know it. So then this is classic Hitchcockian filmmaking tropes of the audience sees the ticking bomb under the table, but the people sitting at the table don't know what's there. So the dread builds, and it really works. And also it builds our empathy for Scotty, the character, because we're like, God, he's being really fucked over. This poor guy, he's being so fucked over by these people. Right. Because we're still seeing him unravel. Now, that being said, we're feeling bad for Scotty, but also this third act, as we mentioned, this is where the infatuation takes over, and he is way out of line, changing haircuts, dressing her up like the same way, the same outfits and everything. And this is where it might be the ultimate. We said this about the voyeurism of Rear Window too, but the ultimate Hitchcockian control movie. Like he would do this with his stars, right? Of we're going to look a certain way, and we're going to make it wrong. You'll do it this way, leading to all the problematic shit that we talked about before. But this is definitely the grandest, most well put together illustration of that inclination, I guess.
And it felt a little like, because of what I know of the background of Alfred Hitchcock, this one felt like a little extra, like he was in his prime of doing all his shit.
Yes.
Like, almost. But not to tell, the quality of the filmmaking, but just you could kind of feel like the creep and the, just like, I don't know, I keep saying it, but like there was excessive amounts of blonde ladies in this movie.
Yes, right. And we know he loves his blondes, right? And he loves his Jimmy Stewart prototypes as well. So yeah, this is, again, this notion of a fixation on a like a physical form, not the person, but like
just like the
type. Yeah, right. I mean, it's that in itself is its own just additional bizarre element that makes this movie kind of
nothing
stand
against
out.
Blonde ladies.
Not of course not. Of course
Very
not.
pro blonde ladies.
Just the fact that they're exploited mercilessly
there we
in
go.
Hitchcock movies.
That's what it is.
Is she? Do they ever mention if she's like an actor or something like that? Like, how is she able to adopt the airs of Madeline? And when she just fell off the turnip truck from Kansas with a Brooklyn accent, like I'm just wondering, like, what do they give her a reason why she's so
because she used to fuck that guy so much.
I mean,
so she was exposed to
it just rubbed off.
She was exposed.
I mean that's good enough for me as far as an explanation. Catherine, Carolyn, do you have any other ideas? Because that's good. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, I don't think they explain that.
Okay.
It's a mystery.
The only other note here that I have for the further weirdness is he doesn't start behaving like the old Scotty we knew in the beginning of the film until she finally bends to his every desire for the hair and the outfit, and we're going to have dinner here. Then he starts behaving normally. And it's just for like half a scene, because in that same scene, he sees the necklace and he starts piecing it together, and then he starts unraveling all over again. So that's kind of strange. And also the fact that like when he drives her down to the mission and we see her figure out like what he's doing, and now she is confused as to his behavior. So how the turntables have ... The fact that he describes this is, I have to go into the past again and then I will be free. So like he is seeking freedom from his illness. And he feels like to do this, he has to dive into the past to right the wrong. So like this is the whole finale that you will see. I hope if you go watch the end, is that he does freak out on her about the long con. He reveals that he knows, he's figured it out, and he drags her ass up those stairs.
Oh, does he?
Yes. And as he, in a furious performance, it's crazy. Again, James Stewart, A+ work. He's so distracted by his own rage over it that he doesn't even realize that he's made it all the way up to the top. And suddenly he's clear. He looks down and he realizes that he did it. He's cured himself, which is set up earlier in the film. Midge says something about like the doctors say that only another traumatic event will undo this from you. That we see that happen basically. And it's just a really intense scene. Well, there it is. Vertigo. Now, historically speaking, I believe this was not a successful film when it was released.
Okay.
And this leads to Hitchcock actually downsizing both in scale of concept and subtlety, and also downsizing from color to black and white, because the next movie that he makes is 1960s Psycho.
Oh.
So that's a very different type of movie, much lower budget, not really stars, a much more pulpy storytelling. Have you ever seen Psycho?
I have heard of Psycho, and I think there's movies made later that reference
yes,
it.
Of course.
Very much
shared,
so.
Whatever. Copied the story.
Okay. God, I feel like we should just text Psycho on. Because like, if you don't know the exciting conclusion to Psycho, which I don't think you do.
I think I do.
Oh, do you? What do you think?
It was his mother.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's an idea.
It?
Well, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
I actually have to watch it.
Maybe we need to watch Psycho.
I've never watched Psycho.
You've never watched Psycho? Oh my God.
No.
I have watched it. It was a really long time ago.
Oh my God. Catherine, do you remember the exciting twist?
Yeah, I think I do.
Oh, you think so?
I think I do.
Oh. Is this just next week? Are we just going to watch Psycho?
That's fine.
Psycho. Let's do it.
Okay, so if we did Psycho next week, this is a bonus. I mean, show meeting everybody on the air. Who gives a shit?
That's fine.
People a glimpse behind the curtain, right? Let's just do Psycho for Halloween next week, and then I guess the other Halloween movie.
What were you thinking?
I want to watch Monster Go Home.
I think that does not have to be for Halloween. I just love that movie.
Okay, maybe we'll do like last year where we watched Ghostbusters after Halloween. We'll do Monster Go Home after Psycho next week.
Okay.
I think you should see Psycho, just because if you don't know the surprise, then I want to talk to you about it. Okay. So
I think since Shrishma and I have not really,
so this could be really surprising.
Exactly. Yeah, okay, great. This is great. I love it. We're going with it. Okay. Season 2, everybody. It's a free for all.
Monster Go Home is not really a Halloween movie. It's a family film about finding your roots.
And monsters.
And monsters.
I'm going to hate it, aren't I?
Catherine, you are not going to.
That is one I have not seen.
You are not going to enjoy it, Catherine.
No,
I will tell you that it does have Terry Thomas in it, and that will either turn you off further or excite you. I don't know. You did not care for his performance in Mad Mad World. I can't see your opinion changing for this one. And I will not be surprised
Catherine,
if I call in sick on that day. So
I do want your thoughts on English homes and what kind of torture chambers they might have in
it
their
is a very British
standard, probably. No.
It's the most Hollywood version of England that you could imagine. And I actually think that is why you should be a part of it.
I think because they filmed it in the back hills of California.
Absolutely. They were definitely going to be shooting MASH there later on in the day in Shropshire, England. Anyway, that's in the future, you guys. Let's wrap up Vertigo here. Final thoughts. Hey, Shrishma Naik. It's not a fair question yet, but I'm going to ask you anyway for the sake of the format, but 1958's Alfred Hitchcock's, Kim Novak's, James Stewart's Vertigo. Do we keep watching this thing so far?
So what I will say is I am going to go back and finish the movie.
Okay.
And I will give my final conclusion next week.
I look forward to it.
Okay.
With bated breath.
But at least you have the commitment that I'm going to go. So I haven't thrown it out yet.
Yeah. I mean, you got to there's a half hour left of what you see, right? So you can handle it. So, okay. Great. We'll mark that down. Carolyn Naoroz, My Sister and Yours, Across the Ocean, 1958's Vertigo, arguably the greatest film ever made. Do we keep watching it, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
You're into it. You enjoy the experience.
I mean, I'm always happy to watch it many times.
Real quick, why have you seen this one so many times, whereas, say...
Not Psycho.
Yeah, some of the other ones, not so much.
So, interestingly... I think Psycho it just seems like a different era. And I'm never like, oh yeah, let me watch Psycho. Like, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think I like the classy pretty ladies.
I'm so excited that Psycho is now on the menu. I had no idea that was going to happen. Was not planned, but we're here for it. And then we get a nice goofy palate cleanser of werewolf babies. That's fun. Katherine Sherlock. 1958's Vertigo. What do you think? Do we keep watching this thing?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. This hits all the right notes for you.
I wish I'd had enough time to finish watching it. I have seen it before. I did not remember the very ending, but that's because I'm a goldfish. So I probably won't be watching it again, doing a catch up like Shrishma. But it is definitely, I'd forgotten all of the little visual tricks and effects and things. I was impressed by how it was done, given the time. It was effective. It was
absolutely
highly effective.
And, don't feel bad about being goldfish brain on these things, because I'll tell you, like I say, I've seen this movie many times. I totally forgot that there's a scene where they go to a bookstore and this smoking book proprietor, surrounded by old papers and just
lights up in
those cigs.
The happy Carlotta. The sad Carlotta.
Yes.
The mad Carlotta.
I forgot that scene existed at all. Just like, what is this, like a bonus feature? Like, what is this? But then there it is. It's another splendid set of an old bookshop, I have to say. Yeah. So, okay. Well, thanks, Catherine. For me, absolutely. This is a keeper. I agree. This is one of the great films. I don't know if it's the best. I don't know if anybody can make that call. For me, this is probably his best that I'm aware of, because I think it is so unusual in the long con aspect, his PTSD, the way it's performed, the setup, the inherent weirdness. Is it a ghost story? Is it what is this?
That's true.
It's so strange and unique and beautifully shot too.
I feel like that's the thing. There were so many possibilities of where it could have gone. For it to have gone where it did.
Right.
Anyway, I'll watch it.
I guess you'll find out. Yeah. And it does, like I say, because I think it is so all over the place, that's why it's a good for a rewatch, maybe, after a year or something like that. Like I always enjoy watching it. And it is beautiful. They fully restored this back in the late 90s. So if you're going to watch this at home, if you've never seen it, it looks incredible. Looks as good as any movie from that time will look. So it's a yes for me. Let's talk Boom Room. Shrishma, do you have anything in particular that you would like to put in our fabulous Museum of Mid-Century Life? Real quick, I will explain that for the listener who might be new and not familiar with this concept, it is on our Patreon page where you can get our first 50 episodes for the low price of $2. They are double the length of what you find here on the free feed. So go check it out. You will get all of the various relics and artifacts that we have taken from those movies and brought back to modern times to put into our beautiful museum, the Boom Room. What do you want to take for Vertigo?
He had a very nice walking stick.
Yes, he did.
It was a really solid walking
sturdy,
yes.
Right?
It looked like
thick, but like stained and glossy, like varnished. Nice. Okay. Wow. All right. And very representative of his Vertigo issues, so perfect. You got it. Carolyn Naoroz, what do you want to put in the Boom Room?
I want to take our lot necklace.
Oh, okay. Lovely. The very triggering necklace.
Yeah.
Costume jewelry necklace.
Sure.
Okay, great. We can do that. Put that on, some kind of bust. Catherine, do you have anything in particular that you would like to share for all time?
Yes, I have something a little unusual. Did anybody else get obsessed by Kim Novak's eyebrows?
Yes.
Always. I'm such an eyebrow
really,
guy.
They used a glue stick.
Yeah, they were mostly painted on, I think, but I feel like if they were blown up and made into like beanie bags, they would like make just the best things to sit around on.
Oh wow! So you're thinking like a
sofas,
merchandise line based on her eyebrows.
Yes,
what do they call those pillows? Those like boyfriend pillows or whatever, but they're just big inflated eyebrows, stuffed eyebrows. Okay, great. Yeah. You got them. Why not?
Nice.
I'm going to go for, look, there are so many green things in this movie, like pick any of the green cars in the background or whatever, but I will say red wallpaper from Ernie's Restaurant. So striking, so rich and velvety. Like, I'm not a red guy, but like that's a deep velvety red that they have going on there.
That was intense. It really heightened that scene, actually.
And her green dress, especially like when he sees her the first time.
Yeah,
she
made
pops,
her like an emerald in a jewel box.
Yes, in a very otherwise crowded dining room, like your eye is drawn to that green dress immediately. Sure. It's quite brilliant. So yeah, I don't know. We should do, I think, maybe like the coat check room or something like that, or maybe the cafeteria, like a room in the dining room at the museum. Again, fabulous brunches out on the patio on weekends. Bring your mother for high tea over at the Boom Room. Still under construction, by the way. So, not all wings are open. But yes, I want that red wallpaper. And with that, you guys, that's going to wrap up Vertigo. And bonus surprise time next week. We're going to be watching 1960s Psycho. Black and white, breaking one of our primary rules, but it's season 2. We're doing what the fuck we want to do. All right. So everybody get caught up on that. I'm not even going to read the synopsis. I just want you to be surprised and enjoy it. It's a classic. You're going to get so many references once you watch this movie. So happy for you.
I know there's the knife.
Something about a knife, right?
It's not his mother?
I don't know, Shrishma. You're going to have to watch it and let us know next week. So until next time, guys, thank you so much. And we will see you next Wednesday for the grand finale of Hitchcocktober. Bye.
Bye. Don't look down.
Yeah.